Hello and welcome to this Control R webinar from Platypus Digital. Hope you're well. My name is Matt Collins and I am the Managing Director of Platypus Digital, and today we're going to be talking about Google AdWords and Google Ad Grants and what that can do for your charity or non-profit. And we're going to be doing a bit of an ultra summary of AdWords and Google Grants and what it can do for you and what it can do for the people who are searching for information that your charity has to provide. It's going to be a real whistle-stop tour. We're going to tell you about the basics of what the platform can do for you and how it can help you reach more people, recruit more donors and volunteers and things like that. So it's going to be a real whistle-stop tour over the next half an hour or so, plus time for questions for those of you who are following live. So let's dive straight in. So what we're going to cover today is a bit about what AdWords actually is. We'll talk about the types of ads, relationships between the ads and your website, the keywords, writing great ads, a brief introduction to the platform, display advertising, measuring success, and a bit for questions as well. So Google AdWords is a platform that lets you advertise on Google search results pages, and you can see an example of that on the screen here. We've got the search for donate to a charity. That brings up lots of different charity ads. So that's an example of a keyword that's sent out as a Google search, and then it results in lots of different charity ads coming up in front of you. This is a quick snapshot of what the platform looks like when you're actually in it and when you're actually advertising from the kind of back end. We'll take you through a little bit of that in a little bit. So why would you use Google AdWords? Well, there's 3.5 billion searches happening on Google every single day. People are searching for what you have to offer right now. So that's the type of searches that people might do when they're looking for information on your charity's cause. So they're really people who want to help and want to find out about that, about the thing that you have to offer straight away. Seriously granular targeting is possible. So that means that you can really reach proper niches of the people that you're trying to reach, and not just like sort of broad strokes kind of things where you're just reaching people who might be a little bit interested. You can really reach the people who are genuinely properly interested in what you have to offer. Quite a high return on investment as well. So you can set the ad once and it's going to appear again and again. It's not just something that you spend lots of time on and then not get an awful lot out of. Once you've written the ad once, then it's going to appear again and again. Things that's less good about it, well, it takes a good bit of time to get good at. If you really want to get some proper results out of it, then you'll find that it takes a lot of time to kind of learn and a lot of time to get your head around. So that can take a little bit of investing. It can also be quite competitive. So the main kind of calls to action that charities want to do, they can include kind of fundraising asks and recruiting fundraisers and things like that. Everyone's doing it. So if you want to be doing it as well, then you're probably going to be competing with those other charities for kind of space on Google advertising pages, on Google's pages. So what's Google Grants? So the very first thing that you should do if all of this is new to you is to go and apply for a Google Ad Grant. So all you have to do is do a quick search for Google Ad Grants application and you'll be able to do that. What it is a $10,000 a month AdWords account credit program and a way to bring thousands of people to your website every month. So all it is an AdWords account that's got a massive credit attached to it. You can then use that sort of credit to advertise on Google search results pages and bring people to your website through ads played on there. There are limits of the Google Grants program. It's not exactly a fully fledged AdWords account. So there's a daily budget is set to 329 US dollars. So that's the equivalent of about $10,000 or £6,700 at the time of recording every month. So you can't spend an infinite budget, although obviously that's a really high advertising budget for most charities. There's a cost per click set as a limit of about $2, well, exactly $2. So that means that any keyword that you try to target, it has to cost $2 or less. We'll talk a bit about keyword targeting later on. You can only run keyword targeted text ads, not demographic targeted display ads. So you'll only be appearing on search results pages. So when people search for actual terms, rather than appearing on third-party websites as banner ads. So we'll talk a bit about display advertising later on as well. So there's some limitations there, and the biggest limitation is definitely that $2 keyword limit. That really limits the sorts of searches that you can appear for, and that means that you'll only be able to appear for certain terms and not other terms, but there's still an awful lot of kind of mileage you can get from those terms as well. So if you remember nothing else from today's session, then try to remember this. This is kind of the structure of an AdWords account, and it's a really useful way of kind of jargon busting the main terms in Google AdWords. At the top there, you've kind of got your AdWords account. That's the kind of the entire account. Now your account is going to be divided into campaigns. So those are the kind of top level groupings that Google has for all of your ads and all of your keywords and all of your activity. Within each campaign, there are ad groups, and each of those ad groups consists of ads and keywords. So those are the ads that appear on the Google search results pages and the keywords that people are searching for to actually trigger them. So you've got your account at the top, that's divided into campaigns, and then that's divided into ad groups. And each of those ad groups consists of ads and keywords. So here's an example. So here's the name of your charity would just be the name of the account. You might then have separate campaigns for each of the main calls to action that your charity has. So for example, you might have campaigns for fundraising, you might have campaigns for volunteering, running, cycling, London Marathon. So for example, within fundraising, you're going to have lots of different events. So within the fundraising campaign, you might further divide that out into types of fundraising events. So you've got running events, you might have cycling events, then you have another one for volunteering, and within that you might have London volunteering, you might have volunteering at the marathon. So this is just showing you that you need to divide up your account into different ad groups, into different campaigns, and that's going to be a really useful way to organize your account. Good way to start with this when you're trying to map out the campaigns and ad groups that you should have in your AdWords account is to start on your website. This is the website of a great charity called Acquire with No Name. And the way you could look at campaigns is by looking at the first level navigation of your website. So here they've got sections called About Us, Acquires, Get Involved, Support Us, etc., etc. They might be the names of that charity's AdWords campaigns. And then the ad groups that might go underneath each of those campaigns would be the sort of secondary level menus. So when you hover on our choirs, these are the options that you get. The North London Choir, Birmingham, Liverpool, South London, etc. So this is simply a way of trying to organize your account into a nice sort of logical format to make sure that you're targeting the right people in the right ways and bringing the right people along. It's a bit more about jargon busting then. So your landing page, that's simply the page that your ads link through to. That's the page in your site that you're going to attract people to through your ads. Your campaigns are where your ad groups sit. Your ad groups are the groups of ads that target those keywords. The keywords are the words that you're targeting that trigger the ads. So an example might simply be when someone searches for donate to a charity, the keyword there is donate to a charity. So you simply have to list some of the keywords that you want to appear for whenever people do those searches. More on that bit later. Quality score is simply a measure of how good your ad is and how well it advertises what you have to offer on that landing page. This is actually quite an important metric because let's say your charity runs choirs for homeless people like the Choir with No Name does. If you then create lots of ads that target people who are searching for something completely different, then you're not really going to be advertising in sort of genuine way. Now, Google knows that, and if you start doing that, then you're going to get a low quality score. That means that you have to pay more for the clicks that you do get. It means that you're going to appear in less searches, and it overall harms your campaign. So it's really important to make sure that what you mention in your ad matches with what you're saying or even what you're selling on the landing pages. So it's a really useful metric to see how well you're doing in the creation of your campaigns. And your impressions is simply the number of times your ad was shown. So if someone searches for donate to a charity and your ad appears, that counts as one impression. Whether someone goes through to click on it or not is another question. And then some slightly more complex kind of bits of jargon. Your ad rank is simply a measure of how well that ad compared to other ads. Your ad extensions are the words that make the ad bigger. I'll show you an example of that in a bit. CTR stands for click-through rate, and that's the percentage of people who saw your ads that went on to click on them. Your CPC is your cost per click, which is kind of always pretend and grants accounts in the sense that you get $10,000 a month to spend on ads. So you might have a cost per click in a campaign of say $1.31, and that's not real money. So that's just one thing to kind of bear in mind. If you've got a paid account, then obviously it is real money and you have to stump up the cash. Conversions are valuable actions on your website. So an example might be when someone makes an online donation, you can link conversions to your AdWords account so that Google can start to optimize your ads and start to optimize your campaigns based on how many people who are likely to complete that valuable action it'll attract. So really clever piece of kind of code work whereby it can link the success you've had in the past with the success you might have in the future and get you more successful campaigns as a result. And percentage served is just simply how often your ad was shown compared to other people who might be targeting the same sort of keywords. So here's elements of the Google ads that you might typically see. So there's kind of 4 or 5 main elements to it. You've got the first headline there. This is an ad for a charity called Sightsavers. The first headline is simply the first bit of text that appears in large blue text on Google search results pages. Second bit of the headline, headline 2, is kind of appears at the second half of that top headline. You'll see the URL that you're going to click through to in the middle there, next to the word ad, to show that it is actually an ad that you're seeing. You'll see a description underneath that, so that's just a bit more information on what the ad is kind of promoting. And then you'll see underneath that site links. That's the bit that makes your ad even bigger. It takes up more space on the user's screen and makes them more likely to click on it because they're more likely to be noticed. You can also have ad extensions, so a similarly set up ad for Battersea Dogs and Cats Home. One such ad extension is the location of the place that you're trying to promote and how many ratings it has on sites like Google Reviews. When people see those stars, not only does it attract their attention, then they're actually going to get a bit of reassurance that other people have rated it really highly, so they're more likely to click on it. So these kind of ad extensions are sort of nice to have, and they're ways that people might be attracted to your ad and want to click on it. So here's just a couple of examples. If you Google something like homeless charities, here's an ad that you might see. This is for a homeless charity called Centrepoint. That's what I would call a cause-related search. So when someone is searching for your cause, it's searching for the type of work that you do. So they might search for something like homeless charities. They don't know exactly what charity they're searching for. They're just searching for the cause. Here's a search for ActionAid. Now this is what we call a branded search. That's simply a search term or a keyword that includes the name of the organization in it. So if you search for ActionAid or ActionAid volunteering or ActionAid sponsor a child, then that's what's known as a branded search. You're not just searching for the type of work that that charity does, you want that charity specifically. So if you appear in those searches and you are that charity, you're much more likely to get the click and the valuable action at the end of it. Here's another one saying fundraise for animals. So that's someone who wants obviously to fundraise to help animals in some way. They've been served an ad for WWF fundraising. So this is the perfect thing to put in front of them. WWF is an animal charity, and this is the fundraising page that's being linked to. So this is what's known as a high intent search. So if someone searches for something like fundraise for animals, that person probably wants to fundraise for animals. That means if your charity appears in that Google search, you're really likely to capture that person's attention right at the point when they really want to take that action. That means you're much more likely to get what's known as a conversion out of them. So the landing pages, as we talked about, they affect your ads quality scores. So you really want to make them directly relevant to your ads. They should mention the same sorts of words as much as possible to get your quality score nice and high. You want to make sure it's nice and easy to get around them, both on the mobile and desktop versions of the pages. You want to make sure it loads quickly. That tends to be something, you know, website agency or freelancer or whoever built your website should be responsible for, because if there's lots of big images on your landing page and it takes a long time to load, people are really likely just to click away from it, get bored and just go, I'm just going to go somewhere else. I'm just going to go to a different page, and I'm just going to find a website that can give me what I need quicker. You want to be transparent. You know, you want to make it clear what you want people to do on that landing page and give them the information they need. You don't want to put an ad out there that says, you know, meet a famous celebrity, and then when they get to your landing page, then it's nothing to do with that celebrity. It's nothing to do with any celebrities. It was really just a trick to get them to your donate page. That might get you some traffic in the short term, but people are quickly going to realize they've been duped, look at the name of your organization, feel really irritated by it, and remember that irritation and go away. So you want to just make it really clear what you're asking people to do in your ad copy and just give them the information they're looking for on the page. And try to use specific landing pages for specific ad groups. That means if you can break out the landing pages for the different ad groups and not just have a whole load of ad groups all pointing to the same landing page, then you're much more likely to get nice high quality scores. Your ads are going to appear in more places, and you're going to save your budget through the ads that you do put out there. So keywords, these are the things you need to think about, what you want to target. They're the phrases that people search for on Google. They're not necessarily just like one word, like donate or charity, but they're whole phrases. So the example here is donate to an animal charity. And whenever people search those terms on Google, they trigger your ads. So what you have to do is to try to think of the keywords that people might want to search for whenever they're looking for things related to your charity. Now, you don't have to think of absolutely everything that people might search for, because AdWords has a clever way of making suggestions to you of new keywords that you might want to think of. But you definitely have to start off with a nice long list of things that you think are going to be terms that people might search for. There's different types of keyword matching that you can do as well. So there's what's known as broad match. That's the kind of default match type. That means that ads can show on searches that include misspellings, synonyms, related searches, and other relevant variations. So as an example of that, if you have a broad match keyword of cat donations, then your ad might still appear whenever someone searches for cat or donates. So that's AdWords' algorithm having a look at the keyword you've done, and then just thinking of lots of terms surrounding that keyword or that are related to that keyword that might be similar to it just in general. So the great thing about this is you don't have to list different misspellings, different synonyms, and even some related searches if you use broad match as your keyword type, because Google is just going to capture them for you. There's what's known as broad match modifier. That means that it could contain the modified term or close variations, but not synonyms in any order. So if you use broad match modifier, which is the plus symbol here, plus cats and plus donate, you might then match for donate to cats. So it's not exactly the same, but it's much closer than broad match would result in. Phrase match means that ads are going to show on searches that match a phrase or close variations of that phrase with additional words before or after, but not in between. So an example might be if you've got a phrase match on donate to cats, you would turn up for the search why donate to cats, but you wouldn't turn up for something like donate £5 to cats or find cats to donate to, because it doesn't include the phrase donate to cats. So there's really sort of subtle differences between each of these different keyword match types. And if you're not sure which one to use, always go for broad match, because that's the easiest one to start with, and it's the default term, the default match type anyway. And then on exact match, it's only going to show in searches that match that exact term or very close variations of that exact term. So you use the kind of square brackets, the parentheses, to show that you're using exact match. Donate to cats within those square brackets is going to match to donate to cats, but it isn't going to show up for why donate to cats. So it's really just that exact phrase that you're looking for. So negative match is an interesting one. So these are the keywords that you actually don't want to appear for. So you're going to list types of keywords that you really don't want your ads to appear for. So the classic examples of this is if you sell furniture or lighting and you actually sell nightstands, then a really important negative keyword you're going to want to include is one night stands. Obviously, that's something really, really different. And if people are searching for that term, they're not really interested in buying a light. So they might come to your website, they might click on your ad, come to your website, and then immediately leave because you don't have what they're looking for. So you'll have wasted money bringing that person to your website, and they'll have wasted their time, and it's best avoided altogether. So you'll soon see which terms people are searching for that they don't mean to search for, or that they click on your website without really meaning to. You want to not appear for those searches at all. So you find keywords by thinking of some of your own. Just try to, do a bit of a brainstorm. Then use Google suggestions where relevant. You'll see an opportunities tab at the top of the AdWords interface. It'll give you lots of suggestions of new ones to use. Try to use specific 2 to 3 word phrases and then lots of them and across lots of different ad groups. Use the keyword planner for help. We'll try to do this later if we've got time, but you will have to accept that sometimes Google grants $2 keyword limit is going to scupper you. That means that you're not always going to be able to target high value searches. So if someone's searching for donate to a charity, for example, then Google charges more to appear in a search for that keyword, and that may well be more than the $2 limit that Google Grants accounts actually have. So really what you want to do is just try to think of lots of variations of things people might search for when they're searching for your website. You put them into AdWords and then your ads will appear. So if you've got time right now, you can think of some keywords. Choose an ad group that you might have come up with in the last exercise. So the last exercise being having a look at your website and looking at that kind of secondary navigation, and then just listing some keywords that people might search for to try and find that page. Try to think of 5 to 10 that people might search for. Really try to put yourself in the searcher's shoes. You work for your charity, or you work on your charity's campaigns an awful lot. Try to put yourself in someone else's shoes, because they are looking for different types of information than what you might want to promote. So you really have to try and think from what they might be looking for. You don't have to include misspellings or very similar keywords, as we talked about. Broad match is likely to cover lots of these. So try to think of really different ones if you possibly can. To write good ads, really what you need to do is, there's keywords, there's character limits on each of the different sections that we went through before. And so you have to explain what users are going to find whenever they click. And you really just need to highlight what makes you unique. So you want to include keywords in the ad copy, the terms that people are actually searching for, because if you include it in the ad copy, then it's going to appear in bold and make people much more likely to click it. You want to include a call to action if you can, things like find out more, donate now, donate today, and you really want to test different variations of those keywords as well. Ideally, you're going to be appearing in lots of great searches, but the more you test what people are likely to click on, then the more success you're likely to get with your ads. So really it's just about explaining what people are going to find, explain what makes you unique, and sort of tell them why they should click, really, without being too flashy about it. There's kind of a big advertising kind of coolness, like you might write some really sort of mysterious copy for a big billboard ad, or if you're running a TV ad, it's all about, glorious images and really sort of vague copy. It's not like that whenever you're writing Google ads. You really want to write something quite straightforward that just explains why it's unique, why it's important, and have a call to action for it. So really try to focus on optimizing headlines. Just a few other tips, because people are really most likely to read that bit. You want to think about what people might want to search for, not just what you want them to find. So that means that you might be promoting your donations, your fundraising events, your challenge events. All those things are really important. But try to think about what people might want to search for rather than what you're trying to push. Quality score really matters, so don't send people to pages that aren't what they're looking for. So again, try not to kind of trick people into, actually coming to your website. You really want to match the copy that's on your landing page with the copy that's in your ad. That means you appear more often. That means you spend less whenever you do appear, and it just makes the whole experience better for everybody. Try to use ad extensions where you can. You can include information such as deep links into the website. It means your ad is going to take up more space on the search pages that it appears on and make people more likely to click it. Try to make sure it's really relevant to the ad content, of course, and it's going to be likely to be things that people would actually want to read rather than just something to kind of make your ad as big as possible. So we're just going to try to go into the AdWords interface here just to really quickly create a campaign so that you can see roughly what it looks like. So this is what AdWords looks like. You've got lists of your campaign names on the left and lots of different things in the middle here. I'm not going to go through absolutely everything. I'm just going to quickly run through what it's like to set up a new campaign. All you do is click on that big blue plus button and click on New Campaign. Now, if you're using a Google Ad Grants account, you're definitely going to be selecting the search network option here because that's the only place that you can appear for in Ad Grants accounts. So the call to action we're looking for is to visit your website. So we're going to click on that. You're going to put in the business website. So we'll put in our website here. We'll pretend it's a charity in the next bit. So that's just platypusdigital.com. And then you just click continue. So we're going to give the campaign a name, so let's just call it volunteering campaign. Now, what we have to do for an ad grants search is to untick this box that says include Google search partners, because you can appear in lots of different places for paid ad grants accounts, but these places aren't included in the ad grants program. So in the display network, you're going to be selecting no. So the display network is simply kind of banner ads, more typical online ads that you might be used to. You then select your location. We'll just keep it to United Kingdom here, but you can, narrow this down to cities. You can do even really small regions. You can even do kind of villages, all sorts of different places that you can target. The more targeted you can be, then the more likely you are to get people to actually click on the ads, but you can set your locations there. Languages, let's just assume we're using English at the minute. Now with bidding, you can maximize conversions if you have that set up, but let's say you're just getting started. So we're going to select maximize clicks. Now, if you have an ad grants account, your maximum cost per click can always be $2 because your ad grants accounts are always in dollars. Let's just call it £2 here for the sake of argument. You can set a daily budget for the campaign. So let's just say it's going to be £20. And then you can sort of set start dates, end dates, add your site linking extensions. Don't worry about these bits for the moment. They're probably slightly more advanced kind of AdWords features. Then you're just going to click on save and continue and select an ad group name. So within that ad group for volunteering, I'm just going to call it London Volunteering. And then just think of a few keywords really. So let's just think of, say, London Volunteering, things to do at the weekend. Let's say we're going to search for helping the community, and then you might just think of 10 or 20 things to put in here. So you can put in new ad groups here, but we're just going to save and continue and just have one ad group in our campaign for now, just for the sake of time. And then it's going to ask you to write a new ad. So we're going to put the URL here, and you'll see on the right-hand side that you get preview of what the ad's going to look like on the right-hand side. So whenever your ad is live, this is what it's going to be. I'm going to put in the website there. I'm going to put the first headline as volunteer in London. And then the second headline, help the community. And you'll see character limits on the right that sort of go up as you actually write your ads. We're just going to have the description as do something really worthwhile today. You might want to work a little bit harder on your ad copy than I have today, but this is just to get something live nice and quick. And then you just click done. You can create lots of new ads, and we'd always recommend having 2 to 3 ads within every ad group just to make sure you're covering all the bases. You click save and continue, and that's basically it. So you'll see I have my ad group London Volunteering is here. I can click into it to edit at any time. You see the keywords that I've got live. I can always add more keywords here. And then I'll start to see very quickly how well that ad group is performing on the right-hand side. It'll tell me how many clicks are there, that each keyword is getting, how many times it's appeared under impressions. And the great thing is with AdWords is anytime you're not sure what a particular term means, because it is a bit of a new language to share, you can always hover over the term in AdWords and you'll get lots of really useful information, really nice, concise explanation of what that term actually means. Because it's very easy to forget, so always hover over the term in AdWords to get a little explanation of what that term actually means. Okay, so just to run through the last few bits. How do you know your account is actually going well? Well, the ads that have the best click-through rate are the best ads, so try to make more like them. The keywords and ads that don't have any clicks aren't working, so just delete them, really. If you're not getting any clicks, then that means that you're not targeting the right keywords, maybe the ad copy needs a little bit of work, but if they're not generating any clicks, then they're probably using a budget that they don't need to. So the ads that are getting the best click-through rate are the ones that are doing well, so try to make more like them. And always look beyond the ads as well. Have a look at your Google Analytics account. If you have a quick search for our Google Analytics Control Our Webinar, you'll get a great overview of how to do that. Always have a look at how people perform, how people behave on your pages and how your website is performing. Google Analytics is going to give you lots of great information on that. Now, just to briefly touch on the Google Display Network, this is what's typically known as banner ads. So that's the kind of graphics-based ads that you see appearing on third-party websites. Really good for brand awareness. You can create lots of different types of ad that are more interesting than just the text ads that you see in AdWords. Text, images, interactive stuff, videos, all sorts of different formats. You can place those ads on relevant websites. So this is an ad for Dogs Trust. They might have this ad on websites for dog food, puppy training, all sorts of stuff that are related to dogs. And people who are interested in dogs will be on those websites. So Dogs Trust will want to appear in front of them. You can show the ads to the most relevant audiences, targeting by keywords, demographics, interests, that sort of thing. Now these, as I said, aren't available as part of your Google for Nonprofits account, so your Google Ad Grants account. This is something you would have to have a paid AdWords account for. The Ad Grants account probably is more what you're interested in anyway. You need to have pretty large budgets for brand awareness campaigns to really get a lot out of the display network. It can be really good for retargeting, but this is sort of a slightly kind of advanced feature, if you like. If you're just getting started in AdWords, then Google Ad Grants is definitely the way to go. Just a bit of further reading then, if you want to find out a bit more about AdWords. The AdWords official blog is where you'll find all the latest kind of product announcements and feature announcements for AdWords, and it's a really great source of extra learning as well. There's a website called Occam's Razor, which is run by a really great, really funny, clever guy called Avinash Kaushik. He's a bit of an analytics guru. Have a look for his videos on YouTube. He talks with really great wits and really great insights on analytics and marketing and topics like that. There's the WordStream blog. That's a really great product and lots of different stuff on there, as well as AdWords. You've got things like Facebook advertising and all sorts of cool stuff like that. There's also a really good video course by Udemy, and that's the AdWords 101. It's kind of like what we're doing now, slightly more in-depth. It takes you through the interface a little bit more and tells you how to optimize the campaigns that you've got. If you're just getting started, just dip into any one of those and you'll find some really useful resources. Okay, we're going to dive into some questions now. I'm just going to find out what they are. Great. So we've got one question. Have you got any recommendations of charities that we've seen that have done this really well? In particular, smaller charities who don't have the budget and capacity of the larger ones. So that's absolutely a really great question. We work with a couple of smaller charities who we think do this really well. So obviously we would say that because we're working with them. The smaller charities that do it well are the ones, I would say, without sort of naming names, are the ones that can carve out a certain amount of time for this every week. So it can take a little bit of time to get started and get your main campaigns up there. But the small charities that do it well decide on one thing they're going to promote. So that could be selling secondhand products online that fund their services. It could be getting volunteers for local events. And it could just be sharing information on what that charity does on its website, and getting people who might be searching for help on there. They decide one kind of aim that they're looking to promote, not everything that charity does. And they carve carve out maybe half an hour a week just to work on their campaigns, optimize their ad copy, optimize their keywords, and try to get more people to click on their ads. So without sort of naming names, like I said, that's really how the small charities do it. It's a real challenge when you're in a small charity because this is never the only thing that you're doing. So there's always going to be lots of different competing priorities, so it can be a real challenge. But if you're able to carve out just a little bit of time every week to do it, then that's where you're going to find the most success, especially if you're able to just decide on one call to action and one thing that you're trying to achieve. And then we have another question. What are the relative benefits of AdWords versus Facebook ads, for example, for awareness campaigns or organizations? So broadly speaking, your AdWords campaigns are kind of more high budget, high intent campaigns. So if there's a defined need for what you have to offer, then AdWords is a great place to be because people are searching for that particular thing. So they might be searching for a charity to donate to, or a charity to run the marathon for. If people are searching for it, then AdWords is really great for that. If they aren't searching for that necessarily, then Facebook ads might be a good place because you can target people by demographic, you can target people by where they live and what they're interested in. And if you're not running a grants account, then Facebook ads are actually cheaper. So the relative benefits are the Facebook ads are cheaper than paid AdWords ads, but then ad grants accounts are cheaper than Facebook ads, if that makes sense. So if you're running grants accounts and Facebook ads, then Facebook ads are great for targeting people based on their age and based on their interests, whereas your grants account is more based on targeting people based on what they're interested in and what they're looking for, if that makes sense. Okay, are there any networks, groups that we can join to get advice and support, such as through LinkedIn? Without being sort of self-promotional, then we run an occasional event called the Google Grants Roundtables. So that's for charities in London who are looking for other people managing Google Grants in their charity. And if you've signed up to our email list, then you'll find out when those things are happening. You can actually get some really great support from Google as well. And if you go into their sort of live chat, then they can give you advice on optimizing campaigns as well. And there's also a great Slack group called Digital Charities. So if you just Google Digital Charities Slack, then you'll find their website and you can find out how to get support from them. And there's lots of great people managing this stuff there as well. Okay, so with all other things being equal, are there specific types of events that work better than others? For example, special events versus challenge events, running versus cycling, 10K runs versus marathons? And are there any benchmarking or stats around which events get the best results? So that's a really great question. So if you're promoting fundraising events on Google AdWords, and that's a really popular use of Google AdWords, then challenge events is a great place to go for that. And the reason is that loads of people are searching for information on that. Now, the events that work best for Google AdWords are where the search volume is highest. That means that the most people are searching for that particular event. So the more famous the event, then the better it is for Google AdWords. The downside of that is the more famous the event, the more competition you've got for it. So if, let's say, you're trying to fill your London Marathon places with own place ballot runners, then lots of other charities are doing that as well, but also lots of people are searching for it. So it's really tricky because you have to show how you're better than those other organizations, or how what you have to offer is better than what they have to offer. So the main thing to do is really just to show how you're better than them, and to be in there for the bigger ones. And also for events like these, a lot of them have regional rather than national interest. So while the London Marathon's just in London, people from all over the world want to search for it and to find how they can find the charity to sign up for. But there's lots of local events like 10Ks that people have never heard of unless they're in the area. If you can just target people in those areas, if you can mention the fact that you're a local charity, if you can even just mention the name of the area in your ad copy, then you're going to find much more success in recruiting people for those challenge events. Now, I don't think there's any benchmarking or stats around which events get the best results, because it's really not just about the events, it's about how well you promote the events via your keyword targeting, via how localized your targeting is, and via the quality of your ad copy. So I wouldn't say there is any stats around like that. It really just depends on how well you're doing it. How many keywords would you recommend adding to each campaign? You've been looking at the keyword planner tool and it's a little overwhelming. It's a really good question. The keyword planner tool is part of the Google AdWords interface, and yeah, it is a little bit overwhelming because there's just so many keywords you could add to each group. So always start with about 10 or 20 to begin with. And then from there, use that half an hour a week that I mentioned before to kind of review Google suggestions and just add the ones you think are going to be the most relevant. So really, you can just start from that starting point, and then after that, it's really just about adding the ones you think actually make sense, because a lot of them are come up, well, most of them, or all of them, are coming up, you know, they're generated by an algorithm. They're not generated by a person thinking, oh, that would make much more sense for them. There's going to be lots of American spellings and American terms that are in there. So it's really up to you to go through the suggestions and add the ones that are relevant. And if you only have 10 or 20 relevant keywords in an ad group, that's absolutely fine, because really you just want to be appearing for relevant results. It's not about how many people you're reaching, it's about the quality of those people. Always reach the people who count rather than counting the people you reach. So you may have a question saying, I may have missed you mentioning this, but what is acceptable in terms of keyword quality scores? So should we pause keywords with a quality score of less than, say, 7? So again, yeah, I wouldn't say there's a right or wrong answer to that, but if you see, well, quality scores below something like, I say 5 or something like that, it's really not a case of pausing those keywords. It's really a case of working on what those keywords actually are and looking at the keywords on your landing page. That's the key thing to do. It's not that those keywords, it's those keywords aren't working, but really it means that you should be thinking about adding different keywords to make sure that you're appearing in really relevant searches. So yeah, it means 7, 5. These are all good, but really you want to be benchmarking against yourself and increasing the quality score of what you're of the ads that you're of keywords rather that you're ranking for. It's really important thing to be working on where you can. Does AdWords translate search terms to other languages so they roughly match your keywords? That's a really good question. So no, there's no automatic translation in Google AdWords. If you want to have your ads appear in territories where the first language isn't English, then probably, just depending on the country, obviously, depending on what the sort of culture around English is there. If you appear in English, then a lot of people will be searching in English anyway, so that it may not be a huge problem. But obviously, it's much better if you can have your ads and your keywords translated for you in advance. But there's no sort of automatic translation tool, particularly because when you translate an ad from one language into another, then you might, accidentally go over the character limits for the ad copy. So we find that a lot of our ads, when they appear in other countries in English, they get clicks and they get conversions because people speak English in other countries, of course. But ideally, you want to be translating your keywords and your ads in advance and making sure you're as relevant as possible in terms of language as well as in terms of content. Okay, that's about all we've got time for today. So I hope you find that useful. We have other webinars available on analytics, Facebook ads, and more. If you want to find out more about what we do, please head to our website, platypusdigital.com, and you'll be able to get a link to the slides in the description for this webinar. So I'm Matt, Platypus Digital. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you again soon.